the need for speed in your digital adoption strategy. First, to talk about technological change, which, as we all know, is happening exponentially. The problem is organizations are not able to change in that way, which doesn't mean to say that you need to continue with the status quo. It requires management and not just IT to choose what and how to adopt and to what end, which doesn't mean adopting everything. But the key difference is that digital innovators strive to narrow the gap and at least keep up or keep pace with technological change, if not match exactly. The way that this is done is through digital innovation, which is about any idea and its execution that gets you from a current state to a future desired state faster than your competitors. Ideally, this is your desire or an industry desire to innovate, because market-driven change is often crisis-led and not as ideal. There's some accelerators to think about, which I'm going to cover a little more in the following slides. But first, let's hear from McKinsey, who also have views on this.
Digital is about being first or being fast. One thing we're seeing is that as digital disruption comes through an industry, those who are out front with a bold strategy and really breaking new ground tend to be the winners. There's a winner-takes-all dynamic, so they gain from that. There are other ways of winning though. So really fast followers who are able to move incredibly quickly to follow the leaders and have very agile organizations are also able to do fine. However, many companies that we're working with, we find, are just too slow. They are stuck in incrementalism, moving things on a few percent each year, when really they need to completely rethink and reinvent their businesses.
So, how are some of the ways that you can go about becoming more digitally innovative and agile? Well, one is to behave like a startup. Startups combine two things. One is having a vision, predicting the future, and win by being right. But, the ultimate way is to iterate and test, because the future is really difficult to predict. And you win by learning and adapting fast. What this requires is executives and those responsible for adoption to have a clear vision for the use of technology. But most important is to start small and fast and iterate rapidly from there. The advantages of iteration are that it allows for rapid reprioritization, it reduces risks, it avoids dead ends and big misses, and much less coordination is required. So I'm helping my customers going from lean to mean with platforms that use our own technology. So Office 365 to support Office 365, a kind of a platform effect. So this is a SharePoint, this is just a wireframe, but this is actually all being built with many of the customers I work with in a SharePoint com site. It incorporates network effects, things like champion communities using Yammer. It's data driven. So, we've got data analytics with Power BI that allows you to understand adoption of technology, but also gamifies user adoption. It includes scale effects like self-service, learning that can be carried out at your own pace. It makes visible the journey and shows users where to go and how to get there. It gets feedback constantly and shares successes, which always perpetuates success. So that's just one of the ways. It's basically broken up into three approaches I carry out with customers, which is really starting with identifying, the first stage business value areas where you can tackle and get quick wins, and driving adoption around those. Lots of resources available to support customers around that. Developing platforms like the one I just showed you to help speed up adoption. And then, of course, our vast partner network of change and adoption managers to help further. But I'm ultimately there to help guide this process. And this is just an example of a global automaker who took their digital technology adoption, chiefly Office 365, in a year's period from a starting point of zero, essentially, with lots of competitors in the space, competing technologies, made some key decisions, engaging the right stakeholders, I beg your pardon, working with Microsoft, identifying the right use cases, as mentioned before, having those network effects with a champion program, deploying fast, and getting to adoption and seeing improvements in a very short period of time. You can stop this video to see some of the detail, but I'm going to move on. But essentially, you can see that in a very short space of time, you can get to really speedy adoption. And these are the critical things. The other things that we ask customers to think about is to get executives involved, to have the right strategy and plan, and commit to that with resources, but to think big, start small, and act fast fundamentally, and to involve the business and end users. This can't just be an IT project. So that's it. Thank you very much for your time.